All right, welcome everyone. We are about to take a deep dive into an absolutely incredible, invisible world. I'm talking about a world that's right inside of you, inside every living thing, and it holds the actual secrets to life itself.
I mean, have you ever really stopped to ask yourself that? What are you really made of? We're not just talking skin and bones here. What's the thing way down deep that makes you, well, you?
Believe it or not, the answer is cells. But don't just picture a boring old brick wall. No. I want you to imagine trillions of microscopic living, breathing cities. Each one is a bustling metropolis with its own job, its own purpose, all working together to create the incredible organism that is you. And today, we're going to take a tour.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll get a handle on what a cell actually is. Then, we'll jump in a time machine to see how we first spotted these things. After that, the main event, our tour of Cell City, where we'll meet the dream team running the show. And we'll wrap up by comparing the different city plans for plants and animals. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, first up, what is a cell, really? Let's get a nice, clear definition on the table.
Okay, so think about it like this. Every single thing you do, breathing, moving, even thinking right now, that's just the sum of what all your tiny little cell cities are doing. They're the smallest part of you that is actually 100% alive.
Pretty wild, right?
You know, for almost all of human history, this entire universe inside of us was a complete mystery, totally invisible. It wasn't until the microscope came along that we could finally peek behind the curtain. So let's see how that amazing discovery unfolded.
So our story starts back in 1665. A guy named Robert Hooke is looking at a super thin slice of cork, and he sees all these little empty boxes. They reminded him of the tiny rooms monks lived in, called cellula, and boom, the name cell was born. But here's the thing, he was just looking at the empty walls of dead cells. It was a few years later that another scientist, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, pointed his microscope at some pond water and saw things, moving, wiggling. He was the first person to ever see living cells. And that discovery, it kicked off a complete revolution, eventually giving us the cell theory, which is basically the foundation of biology. All living things are made of cells, and all new cells have to come from old cells.
Okay, tour time. Let's head into our cell city. Now, just like any city you'd visit, the very first thing you run into is its border, right? The city limits that define what's inside and what's out.
Well, in a cell, that's the plasma membrane. And it's not some big dumb wall. It's an incredibly smart, flexible barrier. Think of it as the city's bouncer or border patrol. It's constantly checking IDs, letting the good stuff like nutrients in, and kicking the bad stuff like waste out. That's what selectively permeable means. It's very picky about who gets to cross the line.
And to see just how flexible this border is, look at how an amoeba eats. It doesn't have a mouth, right? So what does it do? It literally uses its membrane to reach out, wrap around a piece of food, and just swallow it whole. It's this incredible dynamic process that shows the membrane isn't just a wall, it's an active participant. Now, some cities need a little something extra. They need a fortress. That's where the cell wall comes in, which you'll find in plants. It's this super tough, rigid layer on the outside of the plasma membrane. It gives the cell its shape and support, but it also has a really important job. It stops the cell from exploding if it takes on too much water. That's a real danger for animal cells, but plant cells have this built-in protection.
Okay, we've cleared security, we're inside the city walls. What's next? Well, the inside of a cell isn't just empty space. It's packed with all these tiny, specialized structures called organelles. You can think of them as the city's departments, factories, and power plants. It's time to meet the organelle dream team.
First stop, and you can't miss it, is the biggest, most important building in town, City Hall. This is the nucleus. It's the absolute control center. Why? Because it holds the master blueprints for the entire city, the DNA. Every single instruction for everything the cell will ever do, it's all in there.
So yeah, City Hall basically runs the whole show. It manages the city's energy budget, it controls growth, it decides when to build new city blocks, and it oversees all construction. It's the boss. Okay, so every city needs power, right? You gotta keep the lights on. In Cell City, that job belongs to the mitochondria. You've probably heard the nickname the powerhouse of the cell, and that's exactly what they are. They take food and turn it into pure energy, a molecule called ATP. It's like the city's electrical grid. And get this, here's a really cool fact. Mitochondria actually have their own separate DNA, which is a huge clue that, billions of years ago, they might have been their own separate tiny organisms.
mind-blowing. And if you look closely at a mitochondrion, you'll see it's brilliantly designed. It's got two membranes, but look at the inner one. It's all folded up on itself. Those folds are called cristae, and that's not just for looks. All those folds create a massive surface area, which means way more room for the chemical reactions that generate all that energy. It's all about maximum efficiency.
So the cell is constantly making stuff, especially proteins. But once a protein is made, how does it get where it needs to go? Well, it goes to the Golgi complex. This is the city's post office and shipping department all in one. It takes in new proteins, maybe tweaks them a little, sorts them by their destination, and then packages them up in little delivery bubbles to be shipped out. Super organized.
You know, any busy city creates a lot of garbage, and Cell City is no different. So you need a cleanup crew. Enter the lysosomes. These are basically the city's waste disposal and recycling team. They're little bags full of powerful digestive chemicals. They break down trash, destroy any invading bacteria, and even take apart old, broken-down cell parts so the materials can be reused. They're absolutely essential for keeping the city clean.
Which brings us to their kind of dark nickname. Lysosomes are sometimes called suicide bags. So why the morbid name? Well, think about it. What if a cell gets so badly damaged or so badly infected that it's a danger to the whole organism? In that case, the lysosomes get the ultimate order. They burst open. They release all those digestive enzymes at once and, well, they dissolve the entire cell from the inside out. It's a form of self-sacrifice, taking one for the team.
Okay, so that's the basic tour of our city. But, just like in the real world, not all cities are built from the same blueprint. So let's compare the two main designs you'll find, plant cells and animal cells. But just before we do that, a quick technical point. Both plant and animal cells are what we call eukaryotic. That just means they have a true nucleus, that city hall we talked about. There's a simpler kind of cell, called prokaryotic, think bacteria, that doesn't have a nucleus. But for now, we're focusing on the two big eukaryotic city plants.
All right, so what really sets these two apart? Well, there are a few huge differences. First, plant cells have that tough cell wall we mentioned, which gives them a fixed, kind of boxy shape. Animal cells? Nope, they're flexible. Second, plant cells have one gigantic vacuole, which is mostly a big water storage tank. And third, the big one, chloroplasts. These are the little solar panels that let plants do photosynthesis. Animal cells don't have a cell wall, a big vacuole, or chloroplasts.
And that big vacuole in plant cells is super important for something called turgidity. That sounds complicated, but it's not. Look at the wilted cell on the left. It's lost its water. Now look at the one on the right. It's firm. It's rigid. That's because its vacuole is full of water pushing out against that strong cell wall. That pressure is literally what holds a plant up. It's why a plant stands tall instead of flopping over.
And with that, our tour comes to an end. I hope you can see now that a cell is so much more than just a little blob. It's an entire self-contained universe, a city that's more complex and organized than anything we could build. And you are made of trillions of them, all working together. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. If all of that incredible, mind-boggling complexity is packed into just one single tiny cell, what does that tell you about the nature of life itself?